Hello there, my name's Michael. So in this video I will show you all the cool things you can discover about music by knowing just the major scale. So wouldn't it be good to know a bit more about the music that you listen to and try and play? Now I'm sure the answer is yes for you. So what I'll show you here is a list of things that you can extract just by learning one pattern on the fretboard. And this isn't just a lead guitar thing, this is going to apply to your chords. So what you're going to find out is why certain chords sound good with each other, what notes are in those chords, and then what notes you could play if you were doing lead guitar over those certain chords. So we'll learn something called the G major scale, and it's effectively the natural key for the guitar that we're playing. Okay, so it'll make the most sense to you practically. So that's what the pattern we're going to learn, okay? Now, I'll just go through the pattern. If you know this already, I'll put a timestamp to skip forward, but you can pay attention if you don't. So on the lowest string, your big thick one, do 3, 5, 7, okay, with first, second and fourth finger. Do the same pattern and same finger arrangement on the next string. Now you're going to go to the next string, but it's going to be 4, 5, 7. So use your first finger at 4 this time. Go to the next string, do the exact same. Then we'll have to shift over once we get to this B string, the second string. You're going to do 5, 7, 8 with first finger, third finger and fourth finger. And do the same on the high E string. And you should also learn how to do this backwards. Now then, the first bit of information I'm going to show you that you can derive from that little pattern is what chords are in certain things called keys. And keys are just families of chords that sound good together, and very common one on guitar will be the key of G. If you think of Eagles songs, Beatles songs, Oasis, loads of stuff, Green Day, lots of the songs that those guys have are in the key of G major. Okay, so the key of G major, the chords in it all come from the notes made up in that scale. So all those notes that we went through physically make up all the chords in the key of G major. Okay, so I'll break this down and show you how it works. First, let's discover not just the pattern but the actual note names of the scale we just did. So we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then it goes back to G again, and the pattern repeats. So it would be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and so on. So you'll notice all the notes in there are what's called natural notes, where there's no sharps or flats, except that F sharp note where it appears, okay? So that's the only one that's going to have sharp after its name. So let's discover the chords in a major key based on all those notes we discovered. So this G chord, or this one, or this one, or any G chord is actually just made up of 3 notes on the guitar, and we're going to discover how to do that now with that scale. With certain patterns you'll discover. So the first note in that chord is a G. Now to find the next note in that chord, we miss out the next note in the scale and then find the next note in the chord next to it. Okay, so G, not A, but we do want B. So G, B, then again we miss out the next note in the scale, we don't want that one, but we do want this next one. that's D. So we've just discovered the actual notes that build a G chord. G, B, and D. By going through the scale but missing out a note. Okay? G, miss this note, we want this one. B, miss this note, we want this one. D. So this chord here is made up of those notes just all across the strings in different formations. Okay, let's just check if that's actually the case. This note's a G. This note is a B. Then we've got two open strings. That's a D. That's a G, so we're doing okay so far. Then depending on how you play your G, you might include this open B string, or you might fret it to have a D, but it's still just G, B and D. And then the last note, a G again. So it actually works out that that's true. The G chord is just made up of G's, B's and D's. Let's keep going. We're going to start at the next note, but keep this same pattern of missing out one note and going to the other to find out what a certain chord is made up of. So in a major key, the next chord we're looking for is always a minor chord. So we're now trying to discover the notes in an A minor chord. So we've got A, and then we're going to miss out that D, and we're going to find that we want this one. So what did we discover? A, C, and E. All make up an A minor chord. That's any A minor chord is just made up of those three notes. Let's keep going. So the third chord in a major key is also minor. So this is B, so we're looking for B minor chord now. So let's see. We want this note. We don't want that note. We want this one. So we've got B, D. We don't want the next note, E, but we do want this one. That's that sharp, F sharp. So B, D, F sharp. And that will make up any kind of B minor chord. Let's keep going. So we've got a C note here, and the chord that's going to build is a C major chord. Any kind of C major. So let's see what the notes are. C, miss out this guy, go to this guy, E, then miss out the F sharp and go to G. So C, E, and G. And those are the building blocks of C chords. Hopefully you're getting the gist of this as it goes. So the next note we have is a D, and that's going to construct a D major chord, just a good old D. So let's go through the pattern. D, miss out the next note, but we want this F sharp, so miss out E, but go to F sharp. D, F sharp, we'll miss out that G, and we'll go to this note, which will be an A. So D, F sharp, and A. And that's the building blocks of a good old D chord. Next note we have on the scale is E, and that's going to build the sixth chord of a major key, which is a minor chord, in this case E minor. Good old E minor. So we want this E note to start with, miss out the F sharp, go to the next note, that'll be G. So we've got E, G, miss out this note that's an A, we don't want that. So we've got E, G, and this is B now. Okay, that's the next note in the scale. After A will be B. So our E minor chord is made up of E, G, and B. There we go. Now there's always something unusual in music, so we've got something here called a diminished chord, which won't really come up too much in popular music, but for completeness and your understanding, I want to go through it with you, okay? So we've got this next note, F sharp in the scale, so let's go through it all just so I keep you with me. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. So let's see what notes make up an F sharp diminished chord. We've got F sharp, miss out G, we'll go to the next note in the scale, that's A, so F sharp and A. Then miss out that B, but go to C. F sharp, A, C. F sharp, A, C. And with that knowledge you could play an F sharp diminished chord, okay? So just for completeness I'll show you how to make a version of that chord, but I'm not going to focus on this one too much. At some point in the future I'll do some videos on diminished chords and diminished things. Just so you know that it exists, we'll do this. F sharp, C, and then go to this note, A, to build that little chord. Just so that you know that one exists. So isn't that cool? We discovered how to build all the chords in something called a key. And then just to complete that information, we're going to see the chords that we actually built. And if there's a pattern in the key, okay? So the first chord in the key was G. The next chord was A minor. The next chord was B minor. So far we've got major, minor, minor. Okay, try and remember that. Then the next chords we had were C and D. So that's major, major. So major, minor, minor, major, 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 minor, minor, major, major. I know that's a lot to take in, but you'll get this if you work at it. And then we had the sixth chord, which was E minor. So major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. And then that weird diminished chord at the end. Okay, so you can remember that by thinking it's right at the end of everything you've just done. Okay, and then you could just go back to a major chord again to restart. And then those chords will hopefully be familiar to you from lots of songs. So if you ever see that, you know that, that song is in the key of G major. And for those of you that know different versions of those chords, you could play them all as bar chords like this. And if you do have your bar chords down, that's very handy to have to visualize it, because check this out. That scale we learned, we can put a chord at each of those first 6 notes, like this. First note, you could put a G major bar chord there. Second note, that's A, you could put an A minor bar chord there. Third note was B, you could put a B minor bar chord there. Then go to the next string, that would have been a C, put a major bar chord there. The next note would be D, put a major bar chord there. The next note would be E, so put an E minor bar chord there. And we've just got the 6 most common chords of the key there. So major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and then you can do that diminished one. Just in case your ears want them to hear some kind of resolution there. And if you like rock music, what you can do with all those notes in the key is put what's called power chords on it, P-O-W-E-R, like this. Okay, just that movable shape. First finger and third finger, or little one, whatever you want. And just so you know, the diminished one changes a little bit at the end. Instead of that first and third finger pattern like that, you need that little distance there just to complete it. So what have you discovered so far? All the notes in a major scale, then how to use those notes to build all the chords in a key, and then also how you could play those same chords as maybe different versions of the chords like bar chords or power chords, all from just that one little scale. So we can keep going here. You can then discover things called triads and arpeggios, okay? And me personally, I like to associate them in my head as being very similar to each other. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. Let's say you were doing lead guitar, you had some chords that were from the key of G major playing in the background for you from a song or something you did yourself, and you want to say, well, what could I play over the top of that? Of course you could play any of that G major scale, that's totally fine, but an even cooler thing to do is to play arpeggios over it, okay? And arpeggios over really specific chords in the key. So let's go through the little pattern we went through to discover all the chords in the key, because we can do the exact same thing to discover all the arpeggios that we could play. So over a G chord, it would be real cool to play a G major arpeggio. And we've already discovered how to do that. This little pattern where you take one note, miss the next one, find the next one, miss the next one, find the next one. That's a G major arpeggio there. So if a G chord was played, that would sound really, really cool over that chord, because you're playing all what's called the chord tones of that chord over the top of it. G, B, and D. So I'll go through this maybe quicker than before, because hopefully you get the gist of this. Let's do an A minor arpeggio, which would be this. A, C, and E, which would sound great over an A minor chord. Next one would be a B minor arpeggio. That's B, D, and F sharp. That would sound great over a B minor. Let's keep going. We'd get to C. So this will be a C major arpeggio. C, E, and G. That'll sound great over a C chord. Let's keep going. This will be D major, D, F sharp, and A. That'll sound great over a D. We've got to our sixth chord, that's E minor. So that will be E, G, and B. then we get to that last F sharp diminished, so that would be F sharp, A, and C. Just for completeness. And then you would get back to a G chord again. Now you can go through all the same process with the rest of the scale. The patterns might change a bit, but you're always taking one note, missing out the next, and taking the next note to build those chords and arpeggios. And with that information there about arpeggios, we can use those to build triads, which are all the same chords that we've been talking about, okay? But they would just be using 3 fingers this time. Triad as in 3, so 3 notes. So you're going to discover loads of ways to play those chords, but there'll be lots of different formations that you might never have played before. So let's see. We'll take a G, and we need to find those notes G, B, and D. So we can find them anywhere on the guitar to play a G chord, okay? So I'm going to deliberately go away from this area somewhere over here, and we'll try and discover something else. So I'll take that G there. That's the 5th fret of the 4th string. So what did we need? We needed a G, a B. So I know that there's a B there at fret 4 of the G string. So we've got 2 of them, G, B, and what did we need? A D. So I know that there's a D over there at fret 3 of the 2nd string. So I've just discovered a new way to play a G chord called a triad, and you can make just any fingers that work for you, but this would be it, that little shape. So that's a G chord, just like that is. So you've just discovered a new way to play that chord. Then what we'll do is I'll show you how to do that with a minor chord. So we'll take the next chord in the key, A minor. So let's find the notes A, C, and E. And let's find a new way to play that chord. Okay, I'm going to go to this A all the way up in fret 10 of the B string. So that's one of them. I know there's a C here at fret 8 of the 1st string. So I've got 2 of the things I need, A and C. And I know there's an E right here. So you can construct these in any way you want. You don't always have to start with A if you're doing an A minor chord. You can use just those 3 notes in any order. So we've got E, A, and C. And that's another way to play an A minor chord. So there we go, that's it for now. That's all the things you can derive from just knowing one major scale shape on the neck. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give the video a like for me, that would help me out, and be sure to subscribe for some more videos.